Do people with ADHD have a motivation problem? Hi, I'm Christine, and I'm an ADHD coach. And I like to tell people I work with students probably as young as 8, and then grandparents all the way to 88. Someone asked me once if I've worked with people who were 89. Yeah, I'm not going to turn you away. But nobody 89 has ever worked with me before. So my oldest has been 88. So that's where that comes from. But what I do is I help people with ADHD in that age range thrive in a neurotypical world. Many of the clients that I work with and people that I know with ADHD will tell me that they've been told in their life that they're lazy, that they can't get things started, that they lack motivation. And I know from science and expert knowledge and from what I see that that is actually very untrue. People with ADHD are just as motivated as everybody else is. They want to do the things, they know the things they have to do. The problem is, and that's where that ADHD piece comes in, they can't figure out, and this might be you, how to actually get started and do the thing. So it's often not a lack of motivation, it's a lack of how do I corral all that to get started to do the thing. And that's where that kind of discrepancy lies for people. Why is it hard to get started, to be motivated, to get going when you have ADHD? There's not one answer for that. There could be many answers. I'll give you an example of several of them. One of them might be that you actually don't know where to start. For example, a student who has to write a paper and they know exactly what the paper is, they know all the due dates, but they have 800 ideas. And how do you pick which one is the best one? So that student might spend all sorts of time figuring out, what do I do? What do I start with? So while it looks like they're not getting started, the problem is they sort of got started, but they got stuck in that very first step, which was picking one idea. So it's that huge focus versus narrow focus. That can be a problem. Some of it is part of our ADHD brain wiring is that we do struggle with a little bit of activating and motivation. And that is like, we want to see that immediate result. We don't want to wait for something to happen down the road to be successful. So when I coach people, my goal is to let's find like all the little successes along the way. And that can help you be motivating. So sometimes people think, oh, I have to be motivated to get this started so I can be successful. I really flip that around on its head. And I think you have to be successful to be motivated to keep doing the thing. And that's I think the big piece of it for a lot of folks with ADHD is finding that initial success. So maybe it's, gosh, I've got this report to do for work and it's always a struggle and it's so hard, I don't want to do it. So actually, maybe the first step in that to get you motivated is you went to the coffee shop and opened your laptop. Cool. That's success. That is the first step. And finding that to be success. Oh, well, I did that. Now I can do the next thing. And now I can do the next thing. And you build on that success. And then you become more motivated because you feel good about all those little experiences you're having. All the little micro steps that make up a task can be one, very challenging for people with ADHD to even think in those terms. Like we're either now or we're not now. So to think of all the little pieces that get us there can be really hard. I think that's a challenge for people to identify those steps. It's just not the way ADHD brains are wired all the time. It's kind of an all or nothing type thing. So it's like I either haven't started something or I'm finished with it. I have this project, it's not all the little pieces. So I think identifying those is hard. And then I think that because of the things people experience over their lifetime, especially people who receive a later diagnosis for ADHD, but I see it in my students too, is that it is hard. Like, well, gosh, everybody can open up their laptop and get started on something. Everybody can gather their financial documents to get their tax return done. Everybody can make a list of the bills to pay. Like, why should I kind of celebrate that? And, why do I consider that a success? Because I didn't finish the task. And I tell people, well, yeah, everybody can do those things. not really. Some people can do those things really easy. But if you've struggled to do that all your life, and now you've taken that first step and gathered all your financial documents to start your tax return, and that's a success because you've never really done that before, or you've waited until, the absolute last day, which is probably October 15th, if you've extended them, right? So, and I might know that from personal experience. So if you, that's a success that you've done that, you've done it early. So feeling good about that will help you feel better about taking the next step, which is now maybe to put all that in order or whatever you've determined your steps to be. So yeah, I think it's hard for people to recognize that that is successful. And there might be other things that you do like that snap of the fingers and it just comes easy to you. Other people, neurotypical brains might struggle to get that thing done. So for them, that's a little success. And you're like, but that's easy. So yeah, I think people have trouble recognizing and feeling comfortable that easy things to other people are something that's hard for them and that they need to celebrate when they successfully do them, no matter how small it is. Parents always, I mean, I can pretty much use the word always, will bring up to me when we talk and go through different things. They'll always ask me, how do I get my child to, be motivated to do their homework or be motivated to do their chores? And, my other kids didn't have this problem. And, I always say, one, you have to parent each of your children differently because they're all different. Their brains work differently in that. But, the motivation piece can be super challenging. And so oftentimes it's the same thing that I would tell an adult who is working on something is when there is a motivational issue, it's breaking that down into smaller pieces, like what the task is, into smaller steps and like introducing those in little pieces so that they feel successful and can do something. And then they kind of start to have that internal motivation to do things. But in the meantime, you have to be kind of their external motivator. And some of the good ways to do that are not to punish or hold things back when they don't do it, but to celebrate when they do the things you want to do. So even if it's something that they're supposed to do or they're required to do, that for an ADHD brain, having that confirmation that they did the right thing and that you're proud of them, that's internal motivation that helps, external motivation that helps them start to internalize that. So for an example, maybe your child has 5 chores they're supposed to do over the week. And you've talked about them. They know what they are. They know what they're supposed to do, but they never do them unless you remind them and you nag them and all of that. So what I would do in that case, first time, ask them, what can we do together to help you remember these things, right? Give your child that opportunity to have buy-in. Maybe it's they need them all written down on a chart. Maybe they need a text. Older kids need that text because they see everything in their texts. They don't see what you've put right on their bedroom door, right? They can walk by that a million times. So maybe it's that, but getting that information from them about what will help them, and then set up an incentive system, right? An incentive to, all right, for each chore you do this week, you get a point. And if at the end of the week you have, what I say, like 4 chores. So if at the end of the week you have 2 points, this is your reward for that. And the rewards can be easy things, small things. Maybe they get to pick the weekend dinner, right? Something like that. It doesn't have to be like you go out and buy them a car, right? That we can't all go do that every time unless we're
PlayStation. Yeah.
Right? It can be a small thing. They maybe get extra time on their devices if that's something in your house, all that sort of thing. So you set up an incentive that they get kind of immediately when they do that. And you'll notice I didn't say you get the incentive when you do 4 things in the week, like do them all, because the minute they miss one of the chores, they're never going to earn their rewards. So in their brain, well, this isn't even worth it, right? That external motivation goes away. So make it reasonable. Start with 2 things or start with 1 and build up to that. So it's helping them. It's called scaffolding, right? You make it easier and easier and easier in little steps. And then you start taking it away, taking those steps away, taking your support away a little bit so that they can manage it on their own, but not to expect them to be able to do all the things right away. I think can be really helpful too from a parent perspective. So if you are someone with ADHD and you feel like, or you know that motivation is a real issue for you, I think one of the best things that you can do for yourself is a little bit of self-coaching, is how can you flip that on its side or flip it upside down and look for small things you can do towards a bigger goal that you're maybe not motivated to work towards, small things that give you a measure of success, because success and continued success breeds motivation. So you can't expect to be motivated at first. And also a little secret I can let you in on, there are some things that you may never be motivated to do. Nobody is, right? Nobody is motivated to go clean their toilets. That is not something that anybody gets up and says, woohoo, today's the day I'm going to clean my toilet. There's no motivation there. Maybe unless you're like a super neat freak and that's your thing, but for most people, there's no motivation. So sometimes you have to apply that good old Nike thing and you have to just do it. You got to put it on your calendar, you got to schedule it and do it. And so eventually you make that a habit. Every Saturday morning you get up and that's the first thing you do is clean your toilet. Eventually you're not going to need to be motivated to do that, but you will build a habit to do it. So motivation, sometimes you may not be there. You got to build a habit to make it happen. And sometimes you've got to say, what's the little pieces of this I can do so I feel successful? And that success will keep me motivated and keep me moving towards my goal. Thank you for watching. If you see some other videos pop up that you'd like to take a look at, go ahead and do that. If you want more information on ADHD, please subscribe and follow me. Thanks.